gone through race one and race two. We've gone through the last chance qualifier, and now it's time for the feature. Jeremy, we've whittled it down to 15 drivers. They're fighting for some awesome prizes, but now they have to execute.
And of course, this all started last month when we took drivers in the qualifiers. We whittled them down to 30. Now we're down to where we're at today. And it's kind of poetic that we have 15 drivers here for this final event. As you see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, they're ready and willing to race for several great prizes for your top three.
So some of those prizes, for those that aren't aware, here in the Challenge Series, P3 going to get a SimLab P1X Pro chassis, so a sim rig, which is pretty awesome to bring home. And then we have the GSI Hyper P1 for P2. And then our winner is going to get a SIMUCUBE Active Pedal Ultimate Throttle and Brake. I know I would love to have that, but I do not have the speed to compete with these guys.
Oh, no, I definitely don't have the speed. And I was able to test some of the goods here. And yeah, I would love to have one of those. But again, you got to have the speed. That's something I don't have. And that's why I'm standing right here instead of over there.
For those that are just tuning in for the first time, they're racing the 911 GT3R Porsches at Virginia International Raceway. It's going to be a 30-minute race. We'll have the qualifying here in just a second as they're just wrapping up the practice here for this final race of the afternoon. And then it's right into the action for this final event for the Challenge Series presented by SIMUCUBE. I'm Joe Peak here with Jeremy Scott. That we've been bringing you the action all afternoon. And I'm looking forward to this, Jeremy, because, I mean, the racing's been impressive, especially what we've been seeing with these past two races with some very fierce fighting, some intense fighting.
There has been a lot more intense fighting than I thought there would be, but nonetheless, for the most part, the fighting has been clean. However, there's been some instances where race control has had to get involved. I'm not sure if we're going to see that here, but it will be interesting as we're closing our final minutes here of practice, and then we'll go right into effectively single car qualifying, 4 laps. Does it log your best time? And something that we've seen over the past couple of races, Joe, is the fact that a lot of the drivers at the front have stayed at the front. Passing is at a premium here at VIR, and that's kind of surprising, but at the same time, these are effectively spec cars.
Right. So qualifying is probably going to be of quite a bit of importance here. So watch out for that. Obviously, you can't win the race just by qualifying in P1, but it certainly gives you a serious advantage from what we've seen. I believe we've only seen one pass for the lead so far in our 3 events here in the Challenge Series. Is that right?
That sounds right, yeah. And I believe that was in race 2, but
yeah.
That was only because of a slowdown penalty.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So it was down to a mistake. It wasn't a pass from a driver trying to outbrake someone. So it was patience instead. It just looks like we have wrapped up the practice session here. So drivers now starting qualifying for this race. Who have you got your eye on, Jeremy? Because we were talking a little bit before we came live about some of the big players.
Of course, I've got my eye on Matt Caruana, no surprise there. But really, David Toth and Daniel Ola, you and I have covered their races left and right. I think that they're some of the drivers to really watch out for. Also, you've got Floyd Kerr, who's really shown to me that in spite of all the adversity, he can really be fast up near the front. So those are some of the drivers that I've got my eye on.
Yeah, I think he's got a fighting spirit that you don't want to discount, because the fact that he managed to fight his way back through the last chance qualifier into this race says a lot about what kind of racer he is. So as we watch David Toth come around here on what looks to be his out lap, they get 4 laps maximum here in the qualifying. And then it's off to the race itself. Toth warming the tires. That doesn't surprise me too much based on what we've been seeing, how close it's been in the qualifying, Jeremy, that it looks like tire prep, not just down to the races, but these drivers realizing they need to maximize everything to be up front.
Yeah, definitely, because here's the thing, as we've mentioned, 1 tire off, and it's pretty much going to be lap over for you. So your 4 laps quickly to 3, quick 2. We saw in the LCQ some drivers out of 4 attempts only able to get 1 lap in. So you've got to be on it from the word go. Make sure your tires are nice and warm and nice and sticky as well. The good news is you won't have to worry too much about somebody else out there ruining your lap because you're technically the only driver out there.
Exactly. So this is solo qualifying that they are running in iRacing. That does mean, though, that because of the time limit on it, once those 10 minutes are out, if you're on a flyer and it can still count, you can't finish the lap. Those 10 minutes are 10 minutes, and that's it. You're cut off. Here's Daniel Ola. He's coming around through the horseshoe himself. Let's follow on his lap for a little bit. Back down to about 80, 75 miles an hour down through NASCAR Bend, and then it slows up even more into the left hook. But this is where the pace starts to pick up once again onto the throttle, hopefully flat out here through the snake.
Yeah, that's the key right there. It's the first lap, so you really want to take it easy. These tires still getting up to temperature. We've been beating this story like a dead horse, but it bears repeating. This is a newer tire model that these drivers have spent all season long trying to get used to it. Now, working on week 13 of season 3, I think the drivers, for the most part, have an idea how these tires work, but I've noticed that some of the fast guys still learning this new tire model that we have for the GT3 cars.
You know, in my time working alongside Joey Atterbury, he always likes to say a good driver is always learning every single session. And yeah, so what you're saying definitely bears true. I think that the top drivers are soaking in that information, processing it, figuring out how they can use that to find more speed. Top speed here at the end of the back straightaway, nearly 160 miles an hour for Daniel Ola. But what will this first completed lap look like for him? What kind of times are we going to see? Will drivers once again dip into the 144s? Will they lose a little bit of speed compared to what we saw before? This is to the timing line now for the number 10 machine. We wait for the rest of the laps to start to come in. Daniel will cross the line here. And it looks like a 45-1, but he is 0.05 of a second off of the pole with Mate Varga, our current pole sitter.
I think here's the thing, Joe. To get on that front row, you're going to have to run high 44s there. Phil Krause, third fastest with the 45.2. Matt Caruana, fifth fastest so far with the 45.3. And here's another surprise. David Toth, sixth fastest, 0.004 seconds behind Caruana for that fifth spot.
Interesting. We're checking in on Toth now. So he's on his first sector of the second lap now, coming down into the left hook. So we'll check that sector time once he crosses to see how it compares to the other drivers. It is going to be tight. The top 6 are within 0.2 of a second currently. And between Toth and Caruana, it is 0.004 of a second for that fifth place. But none of the top 6 are any more than 0.1 of a second apart from one another. First sector for Toth, 39.656. That is actually pretty comparable to the other fast drivers on this first sector.
Joe, the top, top 12 are all 0.8 of a second behind. So it is extremely tight here in this qualifying session. Drivers on their second flyer right now. Fuqua and Sexton did not log a time, presumably because of an off of some sort on the lap.
Almost done here with Toth. Second sector. Again, my goodness, there is nothing between our top runners here in qualifying. We should have expected this. But Varga, second lap, gets bested. Daniel Ola is the first to dip into the 144s. He's followed by Varga. It is now just about 1.5 tenths between P1 and P2. The marker is a 44.788.
Illicaff, and look who goes to second. It's Caruana with the 44.8. I was going to say Ryan Millikamp was third. Now he's fourth. And look who else goes to second. It's David Toth. So the Ola-Toth battle. Right now, your provisional front row.
Caruana into the top 3. I'm sure he's not going to settle for that, though. We ride on board with Mate Varga. Provisionally on top for a while. He gets shuffled down into fourth. His current best time at a 44.9. In fact, the top 5 have all broken that 145 marker. I think that's the most we've seen all weekend in qualifying. Break under 145.
I'm not surprised because you've got some very, very fast drivers. We split them in the heat races. Now they're all coming together. So the cream rises to the top, Joe, and I think that now they know that they have to go toe-to-toe with each other. So they're going to be doing 10, 11 tenths here in qualifying. We've got to watch it smart because if A, it's going to drop, B, that's a mark I think we're going to see during the races too.
And how important was it for Alex Chilcutt to make it through that last chance qualifier? He's 7th. Look at how quick he is. So he's not just sneaking in and lounging at the back here. He is firmly going to be in the fight. Floyd Kerr as well. We talked about his trials and tribulations. He's within the top 10. But the entire field separated by only 1.2 seconds right now.
And nobody is giving up yet. Mate Varga coming across the line. Best time, a 44.930, 44.746 out of the 9 of Mate Varga, 0.069 seconds off of Daniel Ola's best time.
Chilcutt also up into 3rd now. An impressive run for the 60, but Ola down to a 44.677, the quickest time. David Toth is now up to the front row. And my goodness, I believe 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are separated by what looks to be a little less than 0.07 of a second.
Look at how close Chilcutt is, 2.065 seconds behind Caruana. Everybody is just all nose to tail, toe to toe on one another.
This is going to be an amazing race if this is anything to go by. Everybody is so close on pace. We got 2 minutes left, and it looks like Chilcutt is going to have a big off. That's what I was talking about during our last chance qualifier. If you dip those tires on the right side, you zoom left, and it's into the wall you go.
Jordan Johnson deciding that 3 laps is good enough for him, so best time for him, 44.884 out of the number 12. Right now, good enough for 6th fastest, but will that time stand for him as we have just over a minute left to go? Here's Mate Varga we're watching on board. 3rd fastest, 44.7 is his best time. And Joe, I think this is going to be a good flyer.
He only has to improve by 0.07 to try and work his way onto the pole position. Varga onto the main straight. Is this going to be enough? His sector times look decent, but I don't think they're going to be enough of an improvement. Let's see what he does as he now lifts. And no, he does not go quicker, unfortunately. He stays 3rd.
Still not a bad start for him as we're watching Ryan Fuqua. Floyd Kerr to the top 10 with a 45.1. Now on board Daniel Toth. Again, 44.7. That's the best time that he's done so far. Down to 3rd as Caruana is up to 2nd with a 44.6. What does Daniel Toth do? 44.818. Not good enough to improve.
Still, it is now down to 0.03 of a second between P1, P2, and P3. Remember, this track is 3.27 miles in length, and yet there is nothing to choose between them as qualifying is done. And Daniel Ola is your pole sitter. Matt Caruana is going to be starting to his outside at the start of this race. Row 2 sees David Toth flanked by Mate Varga to his outside in 4th position. Alex Chilcutt coming from the last chance qualifier to start from 5th today. Jordan Johnson next to him in P6. After that, you've got Ryan Mikulev starting from 7th as Philip Kraus will be next to him in P8. Ryan Fuqua good enough for 9th position. Floyd Kerr gets within the top 10 for today's event. Then it's Tyler King starting in 11th. Tyler Rosen makes it an all-Tyler 6th row there in 12th position. Keegan Kalick will be starting in 13th with Corbin Lenaway in the 14th spot. And then last on the field is going to be Bradley Sexton from 75 drivers earlier on this year down to 15 left to decide who goes home with prizes.
I'm excited because I was blessed enough to actually call the qualifying races at Daytona International Speedway. Now we're here at Virginia International Speedway. Both have true tests. This one, Joe, I think is going to have the biggest test.
Really is. We've got a lot of fast drivers here. We can't stress enough the talent that is out here. We've been talking a lot about Caruana, and yet look at Ola, look at Toth, look at Varga. All very much on the pace, all very much equal to them. It's going to be hard to decide who has an advantage out there, considering, I mean, you think about what 0.03 of a second equates to. It could have been the most minuscule of mistakes that decided that grid.
It really could have. And of course, you see how many times we saw positions change as pace car rolls off for the first and only pace lap here for this final race. you saw how many times the position changed. I think we're going to see a bigger battle than we have any of the previous 3 races.
Yeah, before it was all about making the cut. So this time it is now about being in those top 3 for the prizes, or for everybody behind, just about a little bit of ego. There's no championship to worry about. There's no safety rating to worry about in this one. So the drivers are probably going to throw those gloves off, and it is going to be an absolute brawl out on track.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. So we have some team principals who are sitting here just calculating everything to see what they can do to assist. But there's not going to be much assistance with the team managers because they can only do so much. It's down to the drivers and their rigs here in Schaumburg.
Like we said, there's no strategy for them to call. It is a sprint race. There's no pit stops out here. Drivers will have to execute. They're on their own out on the track. Coming along here, this beautiful East Coast circuit just above the northern border of North Carolina. And meanwhile, in the virtual world, might be over on the East Coast. We're here firmly in the Midwest in the Schaumburg Renaissance Convention Center. Again, a big thank you not only to everybody tuning in on Twitch, but also to everybody here that has joined us in the audience to watch this awesome racing, not just for the Challenge Series, but I mean, we've had everything from super speedway racing to we've seen some rallycross and all different types that have been up on the big screen this weekend, Jer.
This has been a showcase of iRacing. What's good? What is fun? And we've seen a lot of great racing, a lot of leaks here, and now we come to this, the final conclusion, the crescendo, as you might say, of this weekend. It all comes down to this. Who will be the fastest? You know, if you would have asked me Friday, I would have had an answer. But today, I don't know. That's the thing. There's so many fast drivers who are in this final who could take it all home. And really, I don't even know how this race is going to start.
Well, the only driver to have been able to beat Caruana on the track this weekend, at least in this series, as he managed to come out ahead in race number 2. And he manages to out-qualify him as well. So the upper hand does look to be in the hands of the 10. But what can Matt do to try and fight back? David Toth as well, like we heard Jeremy talking about. There's very little to choose from these top drivers. He could still be a serious threat. Varga and then Chilcutt, who is going to be extra motivated after having the ignominy of going down into the last chance qualifier, having to fight his way back in. And now that he's here, he's in the top 5. He knows there's a realistic shot.
And look, you've got Floyd Kerr, Tyler King, Keegan Kaluk. We've seen them come up through the back of the pack. Phil Krause even. He's fast in open wheels. He's fast here in sports cars. Joe, I'm excited. Let's get these 30 minutes underway.
Safety car getting ready to peel in as Daniel will have control of the field. So far, we've been seeing a couple drivers decide to back off a little bit more here lately. Maybe trying to prevent any sort of slipstream down to the first corner. Will it be likewise at the start of this race? You don't want to hold it too long. You might not get the jump. And Caruana will be there to pounce. He doesn't wait long. Green flag is out. We're already accelerating away as we head towards the first corner. And look at that. They pretty much go single file pretty quickly there at the front of the field. A big look up the inside from, looks like actually David Toth, as Caruana got a little bit jumped. He could lose that second place. He goes a little bit wide. Toth goes to P2.
A rare mistake from Caruana. Ola and Toth now 1 and 2. But look at this on the outside, side by side for position. 4th, 6th place. Mikolev takes it. Marte Varga goes to 4th as we're clean and green so far through turn.
And Johnson is in there. Where did he come from in the 12? He's in the top 5 now. Meanwhile, look at the gap between Ola and Toth. He has got himself 0.6 of a second early in the lap, trying to break away from offering a tow to those behind. Caruana hot on the heels of Toth, not wanting to give up that track position. He may have lost P2, but he could do something down Madison Avenue.
Yeah, and once Caruana gets around Toth, it's going to be an interesting fight to see if he can catch up to Ola and see what Ola can do. Of course, also you got Varga and Johnson back there. Yeah, I'm surprised. Look at who goes to the inside. Looks like Mikolev going to the inside of Johnson. Going to be side by side going down Madison Avenue. Phil Krause also involved there through the back straightaway.
Oh, he wants to get in there, but there's no space. They're going to bank Doris a little bit. Thankfully, it looks like Mikulev and Chilcutt are going to give each other enough room. Johnson just in front of him, giving the slipstream to Mikulev, but Chilcutt outbreaks him, coming down into the corner. They're going to go too wide down through the roller coaster. The 13 gives him the elbow and takes the spot.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Textbook pass move through the roller coaster. Now as the field works their way into Hog Pen, look at the gap that Daniel Ola already has. Half second, 5 to 6 car length separates the 10 and the 1, but Caruana doing all he can to try and catch up to Toth and get into that second spot.
Only 30 minutes to try and decide this one. So while the driver at the front could try to stretch away, those behind don't have much time to try and run him down. Meanwhile, back to Corbin Lenaway with Floyd Kerr just behind him. Corbin in the silver machine, Floyd in the orange. They'll head through NASCAR Bend down to the left hook, and they're going to stay single file, though, it looks like this time through.
And Sexton and Rosen also in a good battle for that 14th spot. We saw Rosen trying to go to the inside of Sexton there on the back part of your screen, and they're kind of sorted out as everybody single file through the snake and into the S's.
Somebody popping out of line back there. Looks like that might be Philip Kraus. I was hoping he didn't have any sort of slowdown penalty, and it doesn't look like he does. He'll stay in that 8th spot. But he's leading his own train. That's Fuqua, Lenaway, and Kerr just behind him. One of them kicking up a little bit of dust on the exit of South Bend, and now they all try to line up for the exit of Oak Tree.
And now we're starting to see the point in the race, Joe, where we're having groups. Your top 4 finally made it in there. Ola, Toth, Caruana, and Johnson. Varga, and then Johnson on back. That's another group. Got a battle for position up ahead, but this is where we're starting to see everything break out.
By the way, that gap at 0.6 of a second from Ola to Toth down to 0.3 for a brief while. It's back up to 4, but it does look like the 1 car might be able to run down the 10 if he can keep that up. Right now, we're watching Mikulev once again. Chilcutt just behind him. We switched over to Tyler Rosen at the back of the field. He, Sexton, and King in an outright brawl. Look at that.
That is an absolutely fantastic, as right now they're still battling each other as Sexton, he wants that position as well. King and Rosen going side by side, coming off the front straightaway as we have another battle for position here, and that's between Lenaway and Fuqua.
Wheel to wheel going through the horseshoe, and behind them, same deal with Sexton and Rosen still at the back of this one. Floyd Kerr still holding on around the outside of Fuqua. That's going to be hard to finish, though, coming into the left hook, unless he can keep the inside, and he does coming into the snake. Nicely done by Floyd.
Fantastic move, and of course, using those curbs to his advantage and not trying to shortcut the course. iRacing has been very tight on drivers catching 1 or 2 wheels off on the inside of the apex curbing. So smart driving there by Lenaway and Kerr.
Again, drivers dipping those wheels into the dirt coming out of South Bend. The gap has now been erased. Ola has been caught. David Toth on his heels. Caruana also on the back of him with Varga sitting in 4th. From there, you finally have a little bit of a break down to Johnson. Look at the fights for the further positions here in the midfield, Jeremy. I'm noticing a lot of these trains forming.
Yeah, that's not a surprise, especially with spec racing. You know, if you watch any kind of spec racing, whether it be MX-5, Miatas, even Porsches, there is going to be a part in the race where you're going to see groups of drivers working together and forming those trains. This top 4 train, of course, we're watching the Phil Kraus in 11th as part of a train with Kerr, Fuqua, and Caleb. You're going to see them try and work together. Now, would they be smart and try and draft off each other? Yes, but at the same time, it might be a situation where it's going to be difficult to kind of move up to the front. Here's Caruana trying to close in on Toth, not able to make anything happen. But Ola and Toth, I have a feeling they're going to be working together. Even though they don't have the communication, they're still going to want to work together to try and get away from this. But Caruana is making life a little bit difficult. Oh, a little bit of a wheel off there.
Right, so drivers are definitely pushing, I'd say, out there. It's leave nothing on the table. There's no reason to try and sit back this time. Everybody's going to be at 10/10 and very aggressive, no doubt. Caruana, as soon as he sniffs an opening, he'll have to pounce on it. Toth, same thing there with Daniel Ola, but we're at a bit of a stalemate at this stage. We said that they were close on pace, and that was bearing out in front of our eyes. Whoa, that was way off there from Mikulev.
Oh, Mikulev trying to push to get around Jordan Johnson. 0.3 of a second separate them, but then again, they don't want to push too hard because behind them is Alex Chilcutt. And the Quantum Assassin trying to get up near the front, as we saw during the LCQ just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, a bit surprised. Chilcutt not able to back up that qualifying here, falling backwards at the start of the race a little bit. Mikulev, who was able to finish ahead of Caruana in yesterday's race number 2. And we found out, apparently, lives right next to him over in the UK. They flew over here together on the same plane. But
yeah, it was literally Caruana winning the Skip Barber Championship. And, okay, pack up. We'll go to Heathrow and fly over to O'Hare.
Exactly. It's just been living, breathing, and eating nothing but sim racing this week, it seems like. But I don't blame them. The speed that these two have been showing is something to behold. Still, it is Ola you see in the front in the yellow machine, Toth in orange, Caruana in red sitting in third. This is Johnson in the yellow here in this duo. That's Mikulev in the blue just behind him. Coming out into the snake once again. He's going to try and get the run. Look at how they try to sort of shortcut those back and forth corners and just straight line them as much as possible because you're on the throttle all the way up the hill here.
Here's the thing, Jordan Johnson now is about 2 seconds behind that Daniel Ola train, so he's got to defend for Mikulev, but also both of them going about 2-3 wheels off of the South Bend. But Joe, here's the thing, we talked about this in the semifinal race. The more these drivers go off there, the worse it's going to get, and it's going to cause some problems for some of these drivers.
Yeah, so the iRacing sim does take into account drivers going off course and returning. It will drag dirt onto the track, and that's going to make it more slippery on that corner exit as the race goes on. They do have to be careful. Meanwhile, continuing to ride on board with Mikulev, chasing on Johnson. This is for 5th position. As we jump over, and it looks like we got a battle between Floyd Kerr and, is that Fuqua?
That might be Phil Krause. We saw the number 19 falls down into 10th spot. So that's what we're going to start to see with some of these trains. They're going to driver get impatient, think they're going to be faster. And maybe a little suggestion with the bumpers. Get over so I can go faster and catch up that train ahead of you.
Chrome Horn sends a very clear message, without a doubt. Down into the braking, the 68 of Floyd Kerr defends on Krause to try and hold on through the horseshoe. Also, I saw Varga take the fastest lap of the race last time by. He's picking it up.
Yeah, no surprise there. Monte Varga, one of the faster drivers here in GT competition. And of course, also, it's not hurting that fastest lap either, is the draft is so important, especially down Madison Avenue. So we'll see what happens. I've got to say, Ola's opened up a couple of car length gap that he had to David Toth. So Toth being like the brick wall here, keeping Caruana and Varga behind him.
And that battle with Floyd up at the top of it goes from 9th all the way to last in 15th. So a lot of cars in that train. There as we jump back to them once again. It's looking like a lot of pressure from Krause, eager to try and retake that 9th spot. If any one of these drivers flinches, they're going to open the door, and there's going to be a lot of drivers just freight training through.
What a fantastic battle we have here on backhorse. Here's side-by-side action from Mikulev and Chilcutt. And a little bit of contact going into roller coaster. That's going to be Chilcutt. Effectively race over for him as he slides off drive. Able to get going. We'll see what the race director has to say, but it may not be too good for Mikulev. He might have to see the pits for that one.
I mean, the good thing is, as we watch the replay one more time, they're completely side by side, unless he pinches him and doesn't leave him room. Let's see. Yep. Oh, yeah, he kind of did. So you might be right. He might have a penalty coming.
Yeah, you have to leave at least a car with advantage to him. So we'll see how quick it takes for that black key to pop up on our timing tower here on the left-hand side of your screen. There's the battle for the lead once again between Ola, Toth, Caruana, and Varga. As Caruana, he's all over the back bumper of Toth like a cheap suit, which I did see down there at the mall across the street.
Well, I'm not sure that's what he's looking to try and take home. He wants to get himself some trophies for this one. And coming up into the climbing S's once again. Ola looking a little bit more distant than he was before. Over Toth. Now a couple car lengths away from that orange number 1 car, and that gets rid of the gap that he had just pulled. A critical mistake here in the middle of the race.
And that's what we talked about. Exiting South Bend, you can't be too fast because you will end up taking yourself off the course because that grass, that's just hungry for Michelin tires.
Caruana also close. I wonder if that caused a little bit of a checkup from David Toth that allows the 26 to try and get into it. But no, there's not even gaining in the slipstream for what we could see from that above shot. They just stay equidistant apart all the way down the back stretch. So that looks like David Toth with a great bit of speed in that orange number 1. But he's going to need that speed because they're coming onto the main straight once again off of Hogpen. He needs the exit here. Let's watch him on board Varga.
I've got to say this, Ola's lucky that the loss of traction didn't shoot him across driver's left, which we have seen time and time again through multiple races, because that can happen. Loss of traction and then the automatic grab of traction on the circuit will just cause so many more issues than you really need. Everybody nice and tight through the top 4 coming around the horseshoe, setting themselves up for NASCAR Bend as we take a look at the front. Tyler Rosen as he's trying to get around Tyler King. I should say Bradley Sexton trying to get around him.
Something must have happened to this group because remember, it was a train all the way from 9th to 15th. So they've broken up. Something in the battle has caused a bit of a shakeup, unfortunately. In the meantime, Rosen will fall behind Sexton. That's P13 for the red number 21. Now, Mikulev, there you go. Penalty.
Incident responsibility confirmed through race control, causing a collision. So Mikulev's race over. He's going to have to do a pass-through here in the next couple of laps as all 4 of those cars take their 2 rights onto the dirt.
This has been a fascinating one. And let's remember that there are incident limits. That's not something we've touched on all weekend.
Yeah.
At 17, they'll get a drive-through penalty, and every 8 more incidents, they'll get another drive-through penalty. So, yes, they can abuse it from time to time, but they really won't want to put themselves too vulnerable, because if they wind up with too many incidents late in the race, they can't race as hard with their rivals.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want that, especially for the lead group, as they're working their way into Hogpen right now. And once again, there is what these drivers are racing for. Prizes and a trophy, the inaugural Sim Racing Expo Challenge Series.
Absolutely. And also to clarify for our audience that isn't familiar with iRacing, an incident is basically anything that puts the car in danger. So off tracks count as 1 incident, a spin counts as 2 incidents, touching a wall counts as 2 incidents, and then if you touch a competitor hard enough, it is worth 4 incidents. So that's what I mean about sort of keeping yourself from being able to race your opponents hard enough. If you're within 4 incidents of that penalty, you can't risk any sort of contact with them. Meanwhile, look at this. This could be contact coming down through some of the twistier parts of the track, almost completely off the track for Tyler King. He is going to get by Kalick, but using a creative line.
That was a very creative line, nonetheless able to get it done. And so we're back on our battle for the lead. And one thing that was interesting is David Toth taking a defensive line into the horseshoe. I'm wondering if he's starting to feel some pressure from Caruana. Caruana looks to the inside, not going to make anything happen. They head down into Oak Tree. They'll go down Madison Avenue, but the exit not good enough for Caruana to try anything. However, Mate Varga not too far away in 4th place.
That's the first time we've seen an aggressive move since the start from Caruana to try and make the pass. We're halfway through the race now, so I wonder if he's starting to have enough of David Toth keeping him from getting to our leader. Wants to try and see if he can break ahead of that orange machine and have the pace to challenge the 10.
And that's what's going to be interesting to see what it's going to take for Caruana to get around Toth. And once he does, I think it's going to be, the game's going to be afoot. It's going to be cat and mouse for those 2 drivers once Toth gets out of the way. You're looking out of the front of Caruana, now back onto the top 4. Look at the top speed here going into the horseshoe. I think I saw about 162 going in top speed there.
These things get cooking down that main straight, that is for sure. Still very tight between Matt and David for P2, just hugging that rear diffuser as much as he can, but he's got to watch out. Varga is watching from behind. If his attempt fails, he could have left the door open to that number 9 car to try and pounce on him. So that's where it gets tricky here, Jeremy, is yes, he's trying to attack, but he's also trying to defend at the same time.
And that's a delicate line to balance because you don't want to draw the eye of race control for blocking. You don't want to, go off and have some more incident points. One closer to a passer, that could cause some sort of issue. Let's watch these drivers. They make their way out of South Bend. And so far, so good. Everybody running the rumble strips. Oh, I take that back off with a couple wheels off as they go through Oak Tree once again. And look at us a little bit closer this time. It's Caruana with a better exit. So this might be good news for the number 26.
We watch from the back of Daniel on his rear bumper. Let's see if that red car pops out to the side. We're not seeing him quite yet. He's still holding in the slipstream. No, it wasn't quite good enough. Interesting. I'm with you. I thought Matt was so close to the back of him that surely something would happen here into the roller coaster, but no dice.
Something that I've been thinking too throughout this race weekend is I think the aero wash is playing a lot bigger role than we anticipate here this weekend. Here's Floyd Kerr trying to get around Corbin Lenaway for that 6th spot. Kerr in the orange and gray Porsche with Lenaway, the number 16 white and gray Porsche. Not too far behind them is Phil Kraus in that 8th spot.
Philip Kraus was just in the IndyCar earlier this afternoon, so that's quite the leap from those cars to these tin tops. Ooh, a defense from Lenaway, but Kerr trying to stick his nose on either side, and in the process, he almost gets rear-ended by Philip Kraus.
That was a good defensive driving by Kraus in the number 19, as both Kerr and Kraus trying to see if they can get around Lenaway for 6th spot, heading into the left hook. Now going down Snake. That's where our leaders are as well. Still no change there, but 6th place still trying to hold off. There you go. There's Ola and Toth. Look at that. 0.04 of a second faster on the track. Toth was over Ola.
Yeah, they're only 10 seconds ahead of that battle from Lenaway on back. So we said it would be close on pace, and yeah, it's definitely showing to be the case here today. These top 4, though, unable to separate. Although at times, Varga in the 9 does seem to be losing a couple car lengths on them. He's got to hustle to make sure he doesn't lose much more than that. We're coming up to the final third of this race, this time by, and we've seen scant few moves, which surprises me, Jeremy. I thought that it would be a little bit more elbows out here at the front, since there's nothing on the line except for the prizes for the top 3. So it doesn't matter if you wreck out of this one. It's just if you manage to get on the podium.
And that's the key. It's winner take all. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm a little surprised we didn't see elbows out. Are we waiting for either A, a bigger gap, or B, these drivers to get closer to the end of the race as we see a look to the inside for 2nd place? So Daniel Toth also got the battle for 6th place. We're watching. Luna's all over the back bumper as well. It's Matt Caruana. So Toth thought he could get Ola, but now has to worry about Caruana.
Down in a NASCAR bend, Caruana once again on it. We saw this from him a little bit before, but we haven't seen much since then. He just kind of backed off and waited, but he pounces now, thinking that maybe there is an opportunity out into the Snake. It was a good exit from Toth, and he starts to just draw away from that red machine. And it's back to as it was before with the 4 cars in a straight line.
See how the exit out is South Bend. And of course, I'm not surprised it's playing a big part. What's playing a bigger part is, could that be 3 wheels off by Ola? Well, that's that remains to be seen as they work their way around Oak Tree. Watching this battle also between Lenaway, Kerr, and Kraus. So far, so good. Everybody playing nice heading into the Oak Tree complex. Not too far away. If something goes wrong, you've got Fuqua, King, and Kaluk we're going to want to play as well.
That's right. And maybe that is what is preventing them, like you were talking about before, is just not wanting to give away outright pace and allow more drivers to get stuck into this battle. I mean, it's already bad enough that they've got 4 of them all in contention for the win, and they're well aware of that fact. Onto the main straight once again. This is where it started to kick off last time with a move down to the inside, and it does look like Toth is very close. Is he going to once again try and move down to the apex first? He shows himself the tiniest bit, but no, he decides against it.
Here's what's interesting. Ola slowed up so much that gave Toth, Caruana, and Varga a chance to close in. But now Toth trying to hold off Caruana. He's going to take a little bit of a defensive move through NASCAR Bend, setting themselves up for the left hook. Everybody too far away to make something happen. But Joe, I have a feeling with 8 minutes left in this race, it's starting to be go time for the top four.
It really is. And if they've got something, surely it's got to come out. As Caruana seems to be quick. Look at this. He's starting to close in, but you just do not want to go side by side up through the climbing S's. He knows that, so he gets right on the bumper, practically pushing him through the corner, and then has to deal with the arrow wash through the very, very quick south bend, even dipping his wheels. You could see the bobble that time as he tried to save it.
There's nothing left of these cars. They're on 11/10ths right now. As look at the draft that Lenaway has, actually Kurover has over Lenaway right now for that sixth position. Here's the thing. They're ringing these cars out. There's not much left in there. All the water basically is out. As look at Caruana with a juke to the inside. Not going to make anything happen through roller coaster. As now Hogpen, another chance for Caruana to reel in Toth.
We see this time and time again. Oh, there's another little poke. That's more than a little poke. That's a big dive around the outside. Floyd might be able to get it, but they're going to make contact coming down through roller coaster. Neither willing to give way as they remain wheel to wheel up and over the curb. You got to watch out for that. And it looks like Lenaway will not only hold the spot, he gives a position to Kraus after shoving Floyd off the track.
And of course, Kraus, he's going to show himself on that left rear quarter panel. They're going to go side by side. Kraus is going to have to go the long way around if he wants to get that position. So far, so good. Does Lenaway have anything for him? He does. They both break even, but the shorter way around is going to work for Lenaway. He gets that sixth position back. Now Kraus has to worry about Floyd Kerr, who we know can move up through the pack quickly.
Kraus there, obviously hungry for at least another position in behind them. Ryan Fuqua could be joining the battle. All that back and forth between them could open the door for another friend. But what I was going to say as we come back to our leaders is that we've seen this time and time again at the top end of racing on iRacing, Jeremy, is that every one of these drivers is so good. Trying to make a pass is difficult just because everybody is so at the limit.
Yeah, no, everybody's at the limit, and they need to really push themselves if they want to stay in front. So, not only are you at the limit, but your teammate or your competitor, they're at the limit as well. And each and every instance just makes you and them better, which makes the racing so much better. I can't remember the last time we've seen a race this good, this tight, and one toe out of the line is going to make the difference here as we got 5.5 minutes left in this race.
Kraus looking for that next spot up in a P6. Lenaway defending slightly, coming down into the roller coaster. That will dissuade him for the time being. Back up to the top runners. Ola, still your leader. But now we've got another massive run from the number one machine. Will we see him try to show himself? That was a bit strange there from Ola. It looked like he wasn't sure if he wanted to defend or not.
I think Ola is trying to show Toth that, hey, I'm not gonna take a dive bomb on you. So that's what I think he did there. Kind of showed himself to the inside. Of course, now that's giving Caruana another chance to catch up to Toth as we're looking on the roof of Matt Caruana in the 26. I've got to say, a little bit of a rub there through 4 and now into 5. So Caruana, he's won one championship. He wants to win another. So we got side-by-side battle between Phil Kraus and the 68 of Floyd Kerr.
Floyd pinches him down, but gives him enough space. Coming through the left hook, and he's cut off, and that's going to send Philip Kraus around into the snake, and now he gets hit. I don't think the car is going to be able to continue on very well after that one.
Well, he might be going once again, but the time falling off there. We're watching this battle for the lead. Here's the replay.
So, space given on the left-hander, then cutting back across. I mean, that looks very similar to what was it race 2 that happened yesterday?
Yep. Yeah, that was race 2 that happened yesterday. Would not be surprised to see Kerr have to incur a pass-through penalty with that one because he was about 50% of the way in. We're watching this battle between Sexton and Kalick.
A little bit farther down the order, coming back up to the front, though. This is where we want to stay because we're down to 4 minutes left. Surely, if somebody wants to try and feels like they have pace, they'll start to try and attack here. And it's go for broke for some of these drivers, most notably Varga, who's in a position to win nothing in fourth place. So he might as well give it a try. Toth is going to try around the outside as we're finally getting a defense from the 10. And what did I say? Varga's got nothing to lose. He sends one up the inside on Caruana. Doesn't quite make it stick, but this will lose them a little bit of touch with the top two.
That was not what Caruana wanted because he was all over the back of Toth. Let's see if he has enough time to catch up to that battle for the lead. But Varga, he wants on that bottom step of the podium. That's a provisional battle right there, as now you have two groups, a battle for the lead and battle for third place, I should say. And to make things a little bit more interesting, Joe, Toth and Ola know each other very well. The two countrymen are battling for that top spot.
Exactly. We got a number of drivers that are quite familiar with having worked with teammates here plenty of times. That looked like Toth was going very wide for a brief moment, but we're going to switch back to King. He is ahead of Rosen and Chilcutt. And Alex, again, I'm a little bit shocked after the qualifying was so impressive. The race is just, it's not been following it up.
No, it hasn't been. And, it's a shame, but, tip of the cap to Chilcutt to making it to the LCQs, leading and winning a good part of the race. But you know what? Just to be here is absolutely fantastic. Say you're racing here at the inaugural Challenge Series for the Sim Gaming Expo. Looking out of the back of Daniel Ola as he tries to hold off David Toth once again. And Caruana and Varga have fallen off because of that incident there in the horseshoe. Now you got to wonder, are these drivers going to start thinking about incident points? Because these drivers, as much as they've been going off, they may be close to that 17.
2 to go as they cross the line. So they have at least a couple laps to try and decide it. But we have to remember, if you're just joining us, this all started with an open call for hot laps, and the top 75 qualified in to try and compete. From there, those 75 cut down to only 30 drivers. We brought those 30 drivers here to Chicago, Illinois. And of those 30, these top 15 earned their way in. Now it is down to these 4 that look likely to take away prizes. But which 3 of the 4 will it be?
I'd say this is an absolutely fantastic battle. Commitment to the max through the climbing S's. They'll set themselves up for South Bend. The left-hander. We've seen a lot of drivers come off that exit. 2 wheels off for the top 3. All 4 drivers getting a couple of wheels off, so nobody gains any sort of position. Tyler King gets a black flag for incident responsibility.
Interesting. We must have missed the incident on that one. It does.
Actually, there could be incident points because I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, yeah. It could be. Yeah, you might be right. I find it intriguing that Caruana is struggling to get right back up to them. That's how hard they're pushing here at the end of this race. Varga, likewise, is having a hard time trying to get himself back into the mix. But now it's starting to look like Matt may have used that slipstream well to get into the fun. Lenaway versus Kerr. These two have been going at loggerheads for much of the race. Kerr's going to try and go around the outside, coming down into the roller coaster. They'll make slight contact. Kerr gets shoved out. Now he's going to be vulnerable to Fuqua, who can't capitalize on it. But Lenaway holds on to 6th.
The name that we haven't mentioned too much is Fuqua. White flag is out. You're looking at the battle for the lead. Look who's come back into the picture. It's Caruana. So one has to wonder if he tires off, setting up for that final lap. They make their way around the NASCAR bend, still single file. Caruana, he's lost a little bit, but Daniel Toth, he's still caught up to Daniel Ola through the left hook into the right-hander of turn number 5. This is for all the marbles. Here's your podium, provincial podium sitters, I should say, as Ola, Toth, and Caruana. They want the podium, but where do they want to be at the end?
How hard does Toth fight for this? Where does he try and go for it? He's been within striking distance for quite some time. We've only seen a couple of hints at a move, but nothing all that serious yet from that orange machine. Oh, Caruana dipping his wheels off once again, coming through South Bend for the last time. They head up Madison Avenue. Who's got the run?
Oh, I would not be surprised if we see a dive bomb into the roller coaster. Who's it going to be, though? They're a little bit too far away as it's Ola, Toth, Caruana, 1, 2, 3. Toth starts to reel in Ola. as they come down off of the end of Madison Avenue. Look who gets a good run. It's a one of top, but no, not going to make anything happen through roller coaster.
So close, but can't quite execute on it. It's looking good for Daniel Ola to come away with top prize this weekend. It's been a hard road. It has been difficult to prove he is the quickest out there, but this will do it for him as he comes to the line. Daniel Ola will win the Challenge Series presented by SIMUCUBE. Toth comes home P2, Caruana in third, capturing prizes of their own. Varga just off the podium, but you have to credit him for amazing pace and sticking with those leaders.
While it wasn't passing, we saw true driving talent work their way into the equation. A little bit of housekeeping too. Corbin Lenaway holds off Floyd Kerr and Ryan Fuqua by about a second. As a blanket for 6th, 7th, and 8th, Monte Varga. And 4th, Jordan Johnson rounds out your top 5.
And I loved the sportsmanship that we just saw there. Drivers fist bumping across their rigs, showing that, you know, while the racing is hard, they understand that this is for fun out here. There might be some prizes on the line, but everybody's here for the love of racing. Are we sending you off to go have a chat with Daniel, or are we holding off?
I think we're going to hold off for the podium ceremonies because,
Okay.
you and I get to talk to our top 3 finishers, and we get to hand out some prizes as well. We'll obviously announce those, but if you had a chance to take a look at those, if you're here at the Schaumburg Convention Center, you get to see what these drivers are racing for, and it is absolutely fantastic. Really, I think this is the best race of the weekend.
I just want that box for one of them because it's got like gold foil and everything on it. Like, that's just a cool box, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
There we go. Let's look at our results. Daniel Ola, our victor over David Toth by less than a quarter of a second in the end. Matt Caruana has to settle for third after flying over with a victory earlier on this weekend back home. Meanwhile, Mate Varga finished in P4. Jordan Johnson, a bit of a quieter 5th place. Corbin Lenaway was P6. Floyd Kerr with 7th after fighting his way into this race. Fuqua in 8th and Chilcutt in at P9. Tyler Rosen rounds out your top 10. Brad Sexton then comes home in 11th. Keegan Kalick in 12th. Tyler King in 13th. And Philip Kraus 14th. Mikulev, unfortunately, a DNF today. As we heard mention, our coverage is not over. There you see the prizes sitting and ready. Stick around because we have our podium ceremonies coming up in just a moment.